Okay. So the first thing that I feel is noteworthy to really talk about is the fact of stillness. There's a real still quality about the priestess who's sitting on that throne. You know, there's this stillness that kind of invokes that quality of sitting under a moon, sitting very receptively, sitting in this kind of very calm and still manner. And when it comes to being able to tap into our intuition, stillness is actually a really brilliant quality, because when we are very much moving around, or our mind is very chattery and is moving very quickly between thoughts, when we're not present, basically, it's really hard to bring our intuition to the forefront, especially if we're kind of going on a healing path. Yeah. So stillness is an incredible quality, and something that, we cultivate when we're going into a healing session or when we're doing an Akashic reading. It's like that state of becoming present. And generally, we're going to be doing that through the breath. Generally, we're going to be doing that between that mind and body connection. So really stilling that mind. The other quality about this is there's a kind of sense of magic, I would say, that really comes through this archetypal card. And when your intuition is really on fire, that's what it can really feel like. It truly can feel like magic. Yeah, that where all of this incredible information and energy and intuitive understanding, and being able to tap into not only yourself, but other people's psyche or emotions or thoughts, that can feel truly magical. And there is something really, truly magical about this priestess sitting there who isn't really doing much, but is invoking an incredible presence. Now, I think it's really interesting to talk about what came before this card, which was the Magician. So archetypally, the Fool sets off, and he sets off on this, great adventure. And he goes around and he visits all of these archetypes, which is in that major arcana of the tarot, the hero's journey, basically. So before the priestess, he's gone to see the magician, and that when he comes away from the magician, he's carrying all these tools. He's carrying a sword, he's carrying a pentacle, he's carrying a chalice, and he's carrying a staff. These are all the tools of the magician that he gave him. And when he arrives at the feet of the priestess, he really kind of comes to her with that story, with that question of, I have no idea what to do with these tools. Yeah, I've been given all these tools and I now need to make a choice of how to use them. But I actually have no idea how to go about that. And so what the magician is doing is the magician is giving us this kind of masculine external understanding. Yeah, and he's giving us these external tools. We then go to the priestess, and what she does is she basically tells him to sit and put the tools down and listen to his inner voice, to tell him what to do. So it's really beautiful because it's the power of that kind of masculine energy, the power of that feminine energy. We can have all of the tools, yeah, and we can learn so much knowledge and we can take on so many new understandings. But it's really the intuitive voice that allows us to bring that into the world in our own way. It's the intuitive voice that allows us to make that magical, make those tools work for us. And we can only do that when we really kind of sit, allow the mind to quiet, and we trust in what that intuitive voice is telling us to do. And as healers, that really gets into the realm of now us being in artistry. Now us being in the artistry of our own work, and us, using our particular soul gifts, using our particular way of bringing these tools alive. And that's really beautiful, and something that I think, as we develop and as we develop more and more trust in what we're doing, is something that spurs us on as healers, something that makes us really want to do what we want to do. Because when it becomes our own, when it becomes magical, when we use our own intuition with these tools, we truly feel like we're living our purpose. And that's incredible. So, so this experience of the inner voice arises from within. That's what the Fool tells us, where it's arising from within. So some of the other symbols in this card, and one of the secrets of this card actually, and one of the secrets of intuition, is receptivity. One of the secrets of magic, in fact, is receptivity, is being able to receive. So let's break that down a little bit, because if you think about the way in which, we begin to channel that intuitive voice, or we begin to channel intuitive energy or divine energy, we begin to connect to our higher self. Essentially, what we really are doing is we're opening up that channel to be able to receive the messages or that source energy from our higher self or from divine energy. So receiving is one of the biggest keys, being able to open ourselves enough to trust, first of all, to receive. And having the trust that we don't essentially have to do anything. Yeah, we don't have to drive that masculine kind of foot forward and make things happen. The intuitive voice and those intuitive powers happen when we really open up ourselves and allow ourselves to be receptive. Now, the other thing that is also very key about this card are the two pillars. Okay, and so those two pillars absolutely could represent, shadow, light, masculine, feminine. There's a lot that it could represent, divine and earth. There's kind of a lot that it can really represent. She's sitting in the balance of those two pillars. And that's super also another really important thing, is that as intuitives and as empaths and as healers, sometimes that's the space that we really have to be called into to develop that empathic intuition, is being comfortable sitting in between that space, being the conduit of the heaven and the earth, being that channel, being all right in those two pillars of tension. And I think in terms of, so we're going to do an activation later, and I think that some of the symbols in this card are really, really important. So this crown that she's wearing on her head is the crown of Isis, who is an incredible goddess of intuition and especially healing intuition. So that's a really beautiful symbol that I feel. And then obviously this kind of crescent moon. Yep. Also representing that aspect of the feminine and sitting in the feminine. And then the pomegranates behind, which are the symbol of, you know, fertility and that kind of real sense of feminine flowering. And again, when we really develop our intuition, there's this incredible power that we breathe into, of being in that, you know, like, because it is a feminine power. And I don't mean that as in you have to be a female to absolutely, you know, take on that feeling of that feminine power. No, obviously men and women, you know, can have both equal masculine and feminine parts, but it absolutely is a feminine superpower, that whole aspect of, you know, being in that intuition and being able to receive that divine energy. So, yeah, so look, intuition is a natural state. I think it's really important to remember that it is actually a really natural state. And there are levels of intuition that we're going to talk about today. And that natural state is something that happens, is not there present all the time because of our own particular blocks. So intuition basically is really pretty much there on a basic level for us all the time. But the thing that blocks it is basically trauma, because trauma takes us out of the present moment. And, you know, we have, but there are levels, and I really want to kind of break that down. Like, we don't want to be open all the time to that full-on kind of divine download, right? We don't want to have that kind of crown chakra and be downloading full-on divine, intuitive healing. You know, we don't want to have that flow open all the time because it'd be way too overwhelming. But in terms of being connected to our higher self, and in terms of being connected almost to our own survival intuition and our own emotional intuition, that is absolutely available, you know, all the time. But it's the trauma that takes that away from us, because trauma makes us go into the past. So if you are, you know, I want to kind of like ask you, when you get up in the morning, where does your mind go? Now, I know that if I'm having kind of a particularly gritty, nutty week, day, then my mind will go back. Yeah. And I'll begin my day by thinking about all the people that have really annoyed me. Or, you know, I might even go back right back to a boyfriend in high school that I still haven't forgiven. Yeah, there's a whole myriad of things of where the mind can jump, of what hasn't kind of been settled, what hasn't been healed, what hasn't been complete. And that automatically drops that intuitive voice and that flow of being connected to our higher self. So we can already see the healing pathway, right, towards gaining greater intuition. And one of those healing pathways is certainly forgiveness, without a doubt. So an exercise for you would be to ask yourself, is there anybody I need to forgive? Or how many, or how many people do I need to forgive? And maybe just start with one or two. As you tap into that, it's like amazing to see how the energy within your body then gets stopped, gets blocked. So another exercise that I'm going to request of you to do this week, if it feels good, if it resonates, is when you wake up in the morning, you know, just allow your mind to go wherever it's going to go. Don't kind of, don't cultivate it, I suppose. And then another morning, then cultivate it, you know, and really bring it into the present moment. And just notice for yourself how the day shifts, how maybe that day has changed because of, really pinpointing where that mind is going, where your energy is going. On the morning where you allow it to go wherever it needs to go, that's going to be really kind of good information as well for you to kind of understand where it is that you're being taken back to. Or perhaps you're being taken forward with the whole agenda of what you need to do. Yep. So is your mind kind of tracking backwards? Is your mind tracking forwards? What is it doing if you just let it be monkey mind? And then once you've kind of had a go of allowing it to just do whatever it wants to do, then it's, it's not a good practice to do that, except if you're consciously doing it for information. Because in the morning is the greatest time for us to really kind of cultivate our intuition and set up that receptivity for the day. If we're kind of going into a whole heap of agendas or we're going into the past, we are not allowing ourselves to be reborn on that day to create a whole new possibility for ourselves. What we're doing is we're tracking back into the old identity, or we're tracking forward into closed possibilities. We're stopping the possibility of magic. We're stopping the possibility of stepping into a new identity. So in that morning, it's really important that if you can, and if you have kids and all of that, I know that mornings can be tough when we have kids, but maybe just setting that alarm even 20 minutes earlier so that you have that opportunity to go into what I call the void space. Go into that realm of allowing the mind to be in the void. Now, I don't know if you've done that dimensions journey yet, or if you've kind of done any work, maybe with Joe Dispenza, or basically you go to that space where you literally are just in the stars. And your mind is quiet, your body is present, and you're in the void of possibility. Because when we open ourselves up to that void of possibility, that is when we can allow ourselves to fully step into our intuitive power. So, the other thing about intuition is that what is really also important about it is that as we begin to forgive, as we come more into the present moment, and as we begin to heal any traumas that need to be healed, what it is we're becoming more integrated as a human. And in that integration process, then what we're doing is we're becoming more grounded. The more grounded that we become, I feel like the more that our intuitive voice can also come through. It's like that combination of really being able to sit in the presence of our body, being grounded, being integrated. Yeah. Intuition isn't necessarily the act of being in high kind of dimensional places all the time. We open ourselves up to that higher place in that void, and then we really ground. So let's talk about the different types of intuition. So there are, a couple of types of intuition that I feel like is really noteworthy to talk about. So first of all is this sort of sense of survival intuition. And that survival intuition is really it's almost like our instincts. Having the instincts to keep us alive, to keep us safe. And obviously we all have that to some level. And if you think about intuition on that level, intuition isn't always like a spiritual thing. Intuition can absolutely also be connected to, maybe gamblers. Gamblers can have a brilliant intuitive instinct. We can also think about, like, you know, great businessmen or Wall Street, you know, people who are, you know, dealing in stocks and all of that. They can have brilliant instinctual intuition. Then we get to the next level, which is more kind of emotional, psychological intuition. Yeah. And that's the kind of emotional, psychological intuition that if you know, everybody here would probably be born with pretty, I'd say that's what they would be born with. They're pretty empathic. They've come into this world with those senses. And that kind of can develop more and more. And that's that sort of, intuition where sometimes it can become too much. Like, for example, I had a period in, you know, my 20s where I did a lot of house sitting. And I went from house to house to house. And in those houses was obviously all different energy. And I literally felt like I was a different person in each of those houses because I was just taking on that environmental energy, you know. Those intuitive senses, those empathic senses were wide open. I wasn't doing any energy hygiene. So, you know, I'd go from kind of feeling like this really very, very uptight dog walking mum to an old kind of depressed guy from one week to the other, depending on the energy of the house. You know, and I think that all of you would resonate with that, like environments that you've gone into where you're like, what's happening here? I don't feel myself. Like, you know, or kind of hanging out with somebody and really taking on their energy. And so, you know, obviously energy hygiene is something that we can talk about a little bit later, but I would say that that type of intuition has gone crazy at some points in your life. And then you've also had to learn how to kind of temper it and to deal with it. But I feel like it's also really exciting to acknowledge those points in your life where those have where that has happened, if it has happened for you, or if it's happening now. Because sometimes our intuition needs to be so loud and so in our face and affect us so much for it to get our attention. And for it to knock on the door and to say, hey, I am here and I am actually really ready for you to use me. I want you to start cultivating me and being more aware and conscious of how we can bring this online as a superpower instead of just being, you know, affected all the time by it. And then that third level of intuition is that divine healer. It's the divine, being connected to the divine. And we are going to do a lot of work in that space. And yeah, you know, even talking about it, the energy begins to shift in my body. That is something that we begin to really tap into a very, very magical place. And a place where I began in the beginning, a place where we can really start to become artists with our work. And we can co-create with the divine. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. So the other thing I just want to touch on before we start doing some exercises is that your intuition is something that grows with you. You know, it's not stagnant. That is absolutely something that as we grow and put energy into ourselves and really kind of begin to cultivate our higher self and work with that divine energy, it's like as we grow, our intuition grows. And that is, you know, that is something that where we become more and more adept at being able to help others as that intuitive voice comes online more and more. My partner just walked in. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do an exercise in a minute about calibrating our clairs. Okay, and basically what that is basically getting into some language around getting some signs for our intuition. Yeah. And when we go inwards and when we are asking for perhaps a symbol or a sign, I think it's really important to talk about, you know, the different clairs and how they may develop for you. There is a sort of expectation sometimes that we are going to see things. You know, if we ask for a symbol about, you know, a clair or about something that's happening for us, for example, sometimes that symbol isn't going to show up in our mind's eye physically, you know, as an image. I think it's really important to remember that's, you know, for many, many people, the visual aspect is the one that comes last after they've been working on their intuition for a long time. So as you go in, just allow any sensations, be open to any sensations and follow those sensations. Be open to any feelings and follow those feelings. Be open to any knowing and follow that knowing. And just allow whatever to be there to be there. And if you do kind of get an image, wonderful, follow it. And if you do kind of get it all at once, that can also happen too. You know, feeling, image, knowing. Then allow that happen, for that to happen too. But if you kind of, you know, like it's really important also when we're working intuitively and we're working inside and we may get a feeling or we may get an image or we may get a knowing, to really ask for more information. Yeah, we don't have to kind of sit back and allow that flow to happen. If we get presented with something, we can say, you know, can you please give me more information about that? For example, let's just say that you are doing a reading on somebody and their throat chakra might pop up, or you might get an image of their throat. Yeah, let's just say that, for example. And then you also get a feeling of anger. Okay, so you know, you will ask for more information about why are you showing me the throat chakra? Why are you showing me this particular image? So just keep asking those questions and being a little bit more directive, working with your higher self and that intuitive voice. It can be a conversation for sure. Okay, cool. So we're going to do something called calibrating clairs, and it's just going to be a really quick exercise. And we're going to start with some breathing. Now, interestingly enough, if you feel like you want to really kind of activate your intuition really quickly, what you can do is you can hold your right nostril and breathe in through that left nostril, because as it opens that left brain, that's really kind of opening up that channel. So we're going to begin there, and we're going to close our eyes. And we're going to ask for some signs and symbols on particular things. Okay, cool. All right, so just closing your eyes, allowing your spine to be straight. And just covering up that right nostril and breathing deeply into that left nostril. And just allowing the breath to really fill up the brain. And now taking away your hand and just breathing normally through both nostrils. And just connecting to the heart. Connecting to the top of the head. And just allowing that crown chakra to become open. Allowing some energy to flow through from source energy. Allowing both feet to be firmly on the ground, and feel those three places: feet, heart, crown. Just allowing now the silvery blue energy, the silvery blue energy of the priestess to just really swirl around your body. Making you more and more present, clearing any energy. Becoming more and more grounded. And just coming to focus on the heart and on the breath. Anytime anything else comes in, just allow your mind to settle back on the heart and the expansiveness of the heart and the breath. So you're just going to ask your higher self, your intuition now, to give you a sign for yes. Please give me a sign for yes. And really kind of breathing that in and breathing into it. Anchoring that in the body. And now asking for a sign for no. And just calibrating that, getting an understanding of what that is for you. And now, whenever you are connected to guides, what type of symbol are they going to give you to show you that you are connected to divine information? Kind of symbol or feeling, however that comes through for you. Might just simply be a knowing. How do you know you're connected to divine information? Now show me a symbol, a sign, a pathway of how to close down my energy and bring myself back into the present moment. Bring myself back into closing off that channel. And perhaps even more importantly, show me a sign of when I really need to ground. Allow your intuition to tell you when it is that you really need to ground and how your intuition is going to do that. Beautiful. Okay, wonderful. So now that we have that kind of that space open, I'm just going to move on really quickly. And what I want you to do now is we're going to do an exercise together where you are going to scan your body. You're going to open up to your higher self. You can also open up to divine energy if you wish, but opening up to your own intuition and higher self is enough. And you're going to scan your body and just really look for anywhere that you feel that there might be a block, anywhere you feel that there might be light that's not streaming through. Okay. And we're just doing that intuitively, and we're just, having fun with our intuition to go on that journey. All right, beautiful. So just closing your eyes and starting at the top of the head. And just begin to move through that body. Going through the head, shoulders, chest, heart, stomach, hips, lower abdomen, going down the left leg, coming up the right leg, going up the back, and up the back of the head, and then to the top of the head. And just writing down anywhere that you felt like you maybe felt a niggle, maybe felt a block, maybe felt where the light wasn't penetrating, a sense, a knowing, a feeling. Just writing down anywhere that you had an intuitive nudge that you need to give some energy to. Sometimes simply doing an exercise like that can reveal so much about our physical body, also our emotional body as well. And just getting a sense of whether that is something that's physical or whether it's something deeper. And as you go away out of this workshop, go back into that particular area or areas. And again, using those questions, how best can I heal this area? What is it that I can do to help this area receive more light? Using your intuition to really, bring that aspect of you knowing, your knowingness, your power to heal that area. Okay, let's have a 1-minute break before we move on to the final activation. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. You can come off mute or type it in the chat box. But if not, just take a moment to have some water. Just have a bit of a reset. I'm just going to pull up some music before we begin. Okay, so we're going to do an activation now, which is really based on that archetypal energy that we began with. And we're really going to activate within us some priestess goddess energy, and particularly 3 goddesses who are absolute powerhouses of intuition. And, I think it's really beautiful that we can absolutely call upon these archetypal goddess energies, these divine energies, in fact, as a frequency to help bring our healer intuition more online. When we get an understanding, and when we get more than an understanding, when we get an experience, a visceral experience, a physical experience of the frequency of those divine goddesses, it then allows our intuition to open up to that capacity, open up to that frequency. And that's super exciting. Yeah, because it means that, we can really accelerate our own intuitive powers, and we can channel their particular divine intuitive powers as well. Now, the first one that we're going to work with in this activation is Saraswati. So she's a Hindu goddess, and I absolutely love her. There's a real beautiful sense of flow with this goddess. She is the flowing goddess. And, as we began in this whole masterclass, we talked about being in that state of flow, being in that state of presence to really activate our intuition. And she has wisdom, knowledge that is deeper than words. Yeah, and I just find that so beautiful. That's one of the things that she really activates for us, and that's sometimes how intuition can really feel. It can feel much deeper than words. The power of it and what we're able to see and what we're able to experience and feel is beyond words. We're also going to look at Hecate, the Greek goddess. We're going to activate her divine intuitive power. And her divine intuitive power is being able, and we've talked a lot about this, is being able to kind of really connect past, present, and future, really integrate them so that we are completely present. She has that ability to be able to see the links between past, present, and future and be completely at one with it. And that is a very intuitive way of perceiving the world. Yeah, being completely integrated with past, present, and future. And then the last one that we are going to activate is Isis. And Isis really is, she's been coming in really strong lately for me. I think it's a lot around that whole sovereign feminine healing goddess is how I would describe her. And she really supports everybody to reclaim their personal power and to reclaim, because that's what we're doing here. We are reclaiming our intuitive power. We already had it. We've experienced many lifetimes as being healers and intuitives. So she really helps us to remember to reclaim it, and helps us with bringing online specifically intuitive healing intuition. Beautiful. Okay. So we'll just see how they want to come through. It's always magical and exciting working with these energies. All right. Let's close our eyes. So closing your eyes and allowing the breath to travel down into the feet. And just allowing any expectation to settle. Allowing the breath to really fill up the body. And allowing the breath now to come to the crown chakra. And we are opening that crown chakra and beginning to really connect to source energy. Beginning to connect to a golden column of light. And breathing down, receiving, receiving, receiving. Surrounding yourself with love. Surrounding yourself with light. And surrounding yourself with guides who are only of the purest love. Calling in the guides of only the purest love. Calling in the guides only of God's plan. And allow that energy begin to flow. Allow yourself to simply begin to now receive divine light energy. See it traveling through the top of the head, all the way through the body, all the way into the feet and into the earth. And following it now as you receive it and open yourself up to that more and more. Open yourself up to the purest love. Open yourself up to your highest self. And as you follow that energy down through the crown chakra, through the body, allow that energy to go into the root system of the earth. See that light traveling through the root system of the earth. As it deepens, deepens, deepens. Breathing deep into the earth and feeling that wonderful earth below you, fully supporting you, always there for you. Setting an intention, I am open. I am open to the highest level of opening my intuition now. Now focusing on your heart chakra and calling in the goddess Isis. Calling in her healing frequency. Focusing on the heart and saying, I am open to receiving the healing frequency of Isis. See that golden light of Isis just beginning to open the heart softly and really begin to expand the heart. Knowing that the heart is an incredible vessel, an incredible portal for our intuition. There is nowhere where the heart cannot take us. That as we open to more and more levels of self-love, so our capacity to open to our intuition increases. And breathing through that heart and allowing that heart to open and soften as Isis floods the frequency, her golden frequency in the heart. And now allowing that golden frequency of the heart to travel into the third eye and allowing that third eye to begin to rapidly open. If you like, you can see that golden light spiraling out from that third eye, our all-seeing eye, our intuitive eye. Begin to open that eye rapidly. Stay nice and grounded if it's opening too fast for you. Just breathe it down into the earth. And connect third eye, heart and crown and feet. So now sensing, feeling, imagining, or knowing that there is this temple in front of you, and that is the temple of the goddesses of intuition. Just travel there through that third eye and see the pillars of that doorway, the two pillars that mark the door of the temple. And before you go into the temple, just asking your intuition, asking your higher self, is there anything I need to let go of to move into this temple space? Just scanning the body and just allowing that to drop away, drop, 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 drop. Is there anything I need to let go of to step more into my power as an intuitive healer? And just allowing that to fall away. And walking up the stairs of that temple now into the pillar, into the pillars. As you walk into the priestess lineage, you become part and remember your part in this lineage. As you step into that temple, you see a priestess sitting on her throne with an empty throne for you to seat next to her. As you sit down next to her, she turns to you and places her hand on your third eye, opening that third eye, activating that third eye. Opening your fourth eye chakra, right inside of your pineal. Just allowing it to open, 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 open. And she's handing you now a golden diamond. Placing that in the third eye. And breathing into that third eye, awakening those priestess codes, awakening those light codes. Now Saraswati joins her, placing her hand behind that hand. Hecate joins her, placing her hand behind that hand. As those light codes of intuition are now placed within that third eye. And really, really breathing those down now, connecting them to the ground and breathing them up. Allowing that light, however you see that frequency coming in through that third eye, just trusting your intuition. What color is it? Allowing that liquid light to really penetrate that pineal gland, to wash out that pineal gland. Activating more and more of that intuitive power. Activating more and more of those priestess light codes. And activating more and more self-love codes. And now really breathing the earth into the pineal gland. As we begin to really ground that energy. Breathing the earth up, breathing it up, breathing it up, breathing it up. Knowing that as we really open to our intuitive power, we're also grounding at the same time. We're integrating. Now Hecate hands you a staff. And that staff again is a symbol of how your intuition is connected to the earth. That it is a very grounded practice for you. That staff connects to the earth and the light codes travel up and down that staff. And asking now any of those priestesses if they have a particular symbol that they would like to give you. If there are any other particular light codes that are for your frequency to activate your intuitive healer. And finally, before we leave, just placing on the crown of Isis. Just allowing that crown to go on top of your crown. And the moon that sits on top of your crown allows that crown chakra, is a reminder for that crown chakra to be open when it needs to and be closed when it needs to. So your priestess lineage is activated. Those light codes are activated. And let us just come into the heart of gratitude. And just connecting with your higher self before we leave the temple. Just saying thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for guiding me. Thank you for protecting me. Really connect with that higher self of yourself. Really connect with that self-love. Give yourself and your higher self that gratitude. And moving out through those temple doors, doors closing behind you, knowing that those priestesses are there whenever that you want to revisit, that that lineage is totally activated. You stand in that long line of lineage with those goddesses. You stand in the circle. And connecting back into that golden column of light. Feeling more and more the feet on the earth, feeling more and more integrated. The past, present, future, feeling more now. As you arrive back in this body, in this new body, back in this new environment, back in this new time. Welcome back, everybody, into your new body, your new time, your new room, your new environment. Take some time for water today, extra water, and take some time for nature or greenery or integration. And yeah, just a reminder to do the morning practices, to follow up on the scan of the body and to connect in with your higher self this week. Every day, if you're not already. I look forward to seeing you next week. Any questions, feel free to message me. But namaste, everybody. Lots of love. Enjoy the rest of your day and weekend. Or evening if you're dawn.